Hello everyone and welcome back in this new Minecraft video. As you have read from the title, today we are here in our testing world for exploring the the farming mechanics related to the new Creaking mob that we managed to capture in the latest episode of our survival series. So this is going to be a bit of a more extensive video covering not only how to build a resin farm, which is the product that you get from the Creakings, but also how do Creakings work and all the, let's say, technical details related behind them. So we are going to talk about spawning conditions, spawning distance, how to spawn proof, and then eventually we'll cover the actual automation of the process and the where I got my information from, how I processed the entire, let's say, original design into coming up with, well, the final design, which is this one, for my personal view of the Creaking farm. So, first thing first, we have to get acquainted with the Creaking and how does it work. So, in order to build a Creaking farm, you obviously need a Creaking heart. This block can be found in pale garden biomes, as we did in the latest survival episode. Go watch it if you have missed it. So, you need to plop down this Creaking heart between actually two pale oak logs. Pale oak, they can be pale oak logs, they can be wood, they can be stripped, doesn't matter. It is important though that it is, you see, placed between two logs. It gets this, let's say, it changes from this turned off state, like this, to this turned on. So now this Creaking heart is active. In order for the Creaking to spawn, we have to wait night time. Here we have it. And it's fairly easy to like counter the mob. The mechanic of the Creaking is that it won't move if you are looking at it. If you are looking away, it's going to move. And here I'm dying. Good night. So fighting a Creaking is useless, because they get constantly regenerated from the connected Creaking heart. You can see these flowing particles between the two, the block and the entity. And basically it gets continuously regenerated and it's mostly unkillable. The only kind of Creaking that can be killed is actually one that has been spawned using spawn eggs or commands. You can see that I can hit it and it dies. For killing a Creaking summoned by the Creaking heart, you have to actually destroy the heart. And then it will twitch and die. Very simple as the thing. Now, what you have seen is when we heard the Creaking, these weird blocks appear onto the logs nearby the heart, which are actually resin clumps. You can see that we can place them down and they have this weird texture of crumbles. And this is actually what we are interested in farming. But more on that later. First of all, we have to clear out the last, let's say, condition for the mob to spawn, which is radius. Okay, so now that you can see a little bit better, the actual radius in which the Creaking does spawn is quite wide. We are talking about 8 blocks vertically, so basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 16 on the sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So, this is actually the entire area in which a Creaking can spawn. You can see it's very big. We'll have to keep track of it in a very similar way in which we did for the iron farm. So basically what we will want to do is having no valid spawn points except the one we actually want. You can see that, for example, a Creaking spawned down there on top of the frog lights. So funny. But now he's stuck inside this. So the last thing we have to talk about before moving on to the farming, let's say the farm part, the farm bit, which by the way I am going to publish also as a standalone piece, as a standalone tutorial on how to build a resin farm. So the last piece we are missing is how to spawn proof actually for Creakings, and that is unbelievably simple. Creakings do spawn on a lot of blocks actually, on any block that has a free, let's say, top. You can see that the Creaking has spawned in these blocks because they are the only valid blocks at the moment inside this enormous chunk. The easiest way to spawn proof for Creakings is actually to use leaves. They have to have a solid block underneath, and it mustn't be obstructed by any block. So basically, if we were to place down some leaves over here and over here, obviously, the Creaking will not spawn because those are now invalid blocks. There are a very specific list of blocks that can prevent spawning of Creakings inside, let's say, this area. Leaves among them is the easiest to obtain, and also the better lookings if you are considering also camouflaging the farm itself with a potential surrounding, perhaps a pale garden forest. This is some spoiler alert for the coming survival episode. Now, moving on to building the actual farm. We're going to view some various different designs before actually moving on with the, let's say, step-to-step tutorial on how to build it. Okay, so here we have the, let's say, first basic version of this farm. That it was actually the first design that I had found onto YouTube while documenting myself on how, like, the state of the art of farming is. So basically what would happen for this design, I have to credit Basic Redstone as well, another YouTube channel, but it's only fair that I have I'll give you all the sources from which I took. And basically this relies on a very simple concept. Here you have your Creaking heart, which at night it will summon this Creaking, which is going to randomly wander around. What you will be doing here is that in survival mode and lure this Creaking. You see that it has noticed me because right now it's not moving. I move away and turn my head. There we have it. And by simply setting my fourth to the maximum, so you can see it. There it moves, and it's very fast. But what you want to do is to lure it into this pit. There you have it. Close up this trapdoors, and then you can basically go down in this and hit him. And it will start farming. The farming process is very simple. What happens here is when we hurt this Creaking, some resin clumps are generated onto the woods surrounding the Creaking heart. So eventually one will generate in front of the observer, triggering this piston to pull and push, and it will break all the resin on the topmost log. This is the base work from which I started, and now we can move on to the improved version, which is the one I have designed, but probably somebody else also has designed something very similar, which is this setup. Still uses just one creaking heart. It requires a bit more resources, but it's still quite simple. So first of all, you have to place your creaking heart 8 blocks up from the surface, let's say the bottommost layer. Then what you'll have to do, I have chosen to place it horizontally because then I can detect comfortably all the various available positions apart from the topmost ones, because we want to spawn proof everything in a way that basically the only valid spawn point is going to be this little block over here. Otherwise, the redstone is unbelievably simple. It's just a piston, some blocks, and the 3 observers. But we'll see it shortly in our building tutorial. And then some water to collect the falling resin down into a hopper. And what... well, the downside of this current setup is that you will have to wait for the creaking to spawn right in this block. You can see that it hasn't happened yet. And there we have it. So the biggest downside of restricting so much the places in which the creaking can spawn is that it will take a little bit more time for the creaking to actually spawn. But the main advantage of having it here standing is that you can comfortably farm it without having it. You can see that the resin begins to drop down without having to lure it actually into a hole, and it's basically at night it will just appear here and say, farm me, please. The other major advantage of this farm is that the pistons do trigger for any resin is generated, instead of having it like this log, this precious spawning, this precious resin generation surface lying here wasted. That's very important. So now that you have seen it work, we can move on with the actual building, the latest part. And remember, I'm going to publish a video just me building the farm. Okay, so to build our very own creaking farm, we will need these blocks, more or less. Well, let me explain. You don't need a stack of block of netherite. You need a barrel, or any container is going to be good. It's just a collection system. A hopper to fill it up. 2 sticky pistons. Obviously 1 creaking heart. 2 pale oak logs, or their variants. You know, we need for the spawning beam. 6 observers. A water bucket, or more than 1. 8 fences plus other 8 if you want to be on the more, let's say, on the safe side, but 8 should be enough. I'd recommend about a stack of solid blocks, so it could be dirt, it could be stone, the important is solid, and just about 2 stacks of oak leaves, or well, any leaves, should be fine to go. You want to start first by identifying where your creaking is going to spawn. You will want to have a very flat surface, because this is the spawning area of a creaking around a central creaking heart. It's very big, so you'll have to have at least a 33 by 33 flat area around, let's say, your spawning block. It could be air, it could be just surface. The important thing here is just having 1 single valid spawn place. Look at the previous part of the video, or the previous video if you are looking at the quick farm tutorial for the complete list of mechanics that you have to pay attention to. So you want to start first by placing down the block on which the creaking is going to actually spawn. From that you count 8 blocks up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the top of the 8th block is where you are going to place your Creaking heart. You can place it already down. Just remember not to activate it yet, because we have to build the rest first. Now you can get rid of these counting blocks. What you want to build next is the redstone first, around the beam, the spawning beam I'm going to call it. You want to start first with a piston, placing it facing towards the beam itself, 1 block away though. So 1 block of air, piston facing towards the Creaking heart. Then come the 3 observers. We're going to build one side, then you just have to mirror it over. And behind these 3 observers you have to place 3 solid blocks. And that's it for the redstone. So you'll just have to quickly mirror it over to the other side. And this is the entire redstone piece. Now, the next thing you want to do is actually build the collection chamber for the dropping resin. I am using leaves just to be on the safe side. You should be able to use any solid block, but taking into account eventual camouflage needs, leaves, I find that leaves are a much better choice. It doesn't matter at what height you are placing like the collection area. For example, in this case, I am going to go just 1 block down. You want to cover the 9 blocks surrounding the spawning log, and then put up some walls still made of leaves, so that the dropping items do actually fall down into the pit. Placing down the actual water, and the farm is basically complete. So the last thing you want to do before putting, let's say, the log in the correct position is to spawn proof everything by covering the entire area here in leaves. This prevents the creakings from spawning on top of these solid blocks. And there we have it. It is active, though we still need nighttime for the creaking to spawn. The last addition you want to do is to actually create the chamber that is encasing the creaking. The creaking is a 1x1 mob, so you just need a ring of fences on the 3rd or 2nd block, or both. That's why I said either 8 or 16 blocks to be on the safe side. And the farm is complete. You just need to put down the hopper and container for storing the actual resin, and you're good to go. Just wait for nighttime. And there we have it. It takes a little while, but now that we have this creaking ready to be hit, and the farm should start producing. And there it is. Our farm has begun producing resin. Obviously, it still needs a little bit of tweaking since it's a prototype, but it is working. Very simple, very easy. A bit more complicated than that design, but still very, very affordable. And that's about it for what concerns at least creakings, their spawning mechanics, and their farming methods for resin, at least. Well, not actually creaking, but resin. I thank you for having followed me until this moment. It was a bit longer than I had originally planned, but I enjoyed it very much. Do tell me if you like me covering extensively the mechanics behind, let's say, a farm concept, while also publishing a separate dedicated video for just the bare tutorial of farming. I thank you one last time for having followed me until this moment. Leave a like if you enjoyed this episode, and subscribe if you wish to be kept updated on what I post, both in Italian as well as in English. Of course, in English. And I will be waiting for you in the next video of this sort. Be sure to check out the related ones, the bear tutorial, as well as the dedicated survival episode, in which we are going to build this very same farm in our survival world. Until next time, bye bye!